Hi and welcome or welcome back. My name is Tita and I'm a knitter and knitwear designer and the owner of the shop Yarn for All LLC on Etsy. And for those of you who are new, this is my basically weekly knitting podcast where I like to share my thoughts on how to make your knitwear a little bit more modern. I also share my designs, test knit calls, works in progresses, and acquisitions. Normally I have a topic of the week, but today although I have a topic of the week, it's a bit different than my usual topics. I chose to talk about my struggles with my new design, and I will show you the sort of versions that I went through in these past 2 weeks and the version I have right now. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the version you're going to see next week, but I'm still not 100% about this design. So I just thought I'm going to share some of the struggles that I have and probably other designers have as well, but you never see because you only see our final object or versions that we really surely settled on. But today I have a piece that I'm sort of struggling with because I'm not 100% sure exactly how I want to finish it, but I'll share about it in a little bit. First, I just want to say what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Veronica sweater. This is my first design that's been released about a week or so ago. It's available on Ravelry and on Etsy, and as you can see, this is basically a chunky-ish mock neck sweater with puff sleeves and a very interesting opening in the front. These might be one of the last days that I can wear this sweater as the weather here is getting really warm, so I thought I'd take advantage and wear this sweater maybe once or twice more before it gets too warm and before I have to wear my summer or spring knits. I used Phil Passion yarn for this sweater. It's basically, I don't know, an Aryan / worsted weight yarn, the most interesting part of it is sort of the material. The yarn has like I don't know how much you can see, it has like a purple base that is surrounded by a thin black sort of thread, and then the sweater has sort of speckles all over. I took the lavender color, so I have like a pink, dark purple, and blue speckles. I actually designed this sweater specifically for this yarn. When I saw the yarn, I thought it's so amazing, it's my favorite. So I need to design something very specific for the yarn, and when I designed this sweater, I basically designed it right away. Like I exactly knew what I wanted and how it should look like, and the only thing that I struggled with was actually the sleeve. So the sleeve has this sort of insert in the middle, and I kind of struggled a little bit with where to put it at first, that it looks good. Right now I placed it right above my elbow, and I'm really happy with the way this turned out. And I think in my original design it was a tiny bit lower and the proportions were very much off. But other than that, this was a very sort of easy design, I actually really like it. The things that I designed have sort of a few things in common. They are sort of everyday things, like this is an everyday chunky sweater, but they have something a bit more to it. I like to call it friction. As we go on with these podcasts and as I design more things, I hope to become a little bit more elaborate about exactly my style, but I like to think that I design things that are modern with a little bit of friction. And this sweater is basically a basic chunky sweater with a little bit modern take on the sleeve and a little bit of friction with having the opening. So today I will show you two of my other designs, and you can expect something similar to have in all of those designs as well. And as well in my Cardigan. That was my test knit call for about 2 weeks ago. So all my pieces are modern with a little bit of friction, and yeah, as of now, that's the most elaborate way I can define the things that I design. And as you know, all designers have, certain things that they love to do or their style, and I think this is actually mine. But as we go on, I will become a little bit better in explaining my design and my style exactly. So since today's topic is my struggle with one of my latest designs, let's start with that. And after that, I will show you a little bit of the design that I don't struggle with. My new cast on, which is a gift knit for my cousin's birthday, and then I briefly touch upon what happened with the honey cardigan that I knitted for my sister. So here is the newest version of the top that I am struggling with. It's not much to see. I put it on a 24-inch circular needle, so it is a bit hard to sort of see the exact design, but as much you can see. Actually, let's talk about the yarn first, then I show you how much I can actually show without unraveling my stitches. So I'm using submarine cashmere from BC Garn. This is a 90% organic cotton, 10% cashmere yarn. And you can see this yarn and hear a bit more about it in my suggestion video, where I suggest a couple of yarns for spring and summer. But I thought since this is primary cotton with a little bit of cashmere, this would be perfect for the spring and summer to make a short sleeve top with. Simply because it is a cotton yarn, and cotton is really a good material for the summer, I feel. But it also has 10% cashmere, and this is really the softest cotton yarn or cotton blend that I currently have in my shop. I have a few other cottons, but actually I do feel that this is the softest, so that's why I picked it for my summer design. I will pop up the colorway here because I don't exactly remember, but as you can see, this is like obviously a green color, but sort of a toned down green with a little bit of gray in it. You wouldn't necessarily call this a spring color, but I don't know, I just saw it and I was like, yes, this is a top, this is for my top. So this is like the greenish gray colorway. And so this is where we are at now. And I'm gonna pop up on the screen the first version I had. So here's the first version. And this is the version I showed you about 2 weeks ago. I was knitting it, I think, on a 2.75 millimeter knitting needle. And I only have done part of the button band, part of the hem. I call it button band because I'm doing double knitting, and many people use that for button bands, but no, I'm using it for the hem of the sweater. And I was really happy with it, but again, I made a mistake that I put it on a way too small circumference needle, circular needle. And anyways, I couldn't really stretch it out, but as I was going with it, I realized that it might be getting a tiny bit too small, but I was like, no, it will stretch out. So I was knitting it, and finally I put it on a sort of a larger needle, so circular needle, because I couldn't find a cable to hold my stitches. And when I put it on a larger needle, I realized that this 10 or so inches are so small. Maybe if I had a 24-inch waist, but no, not even then. I could not pull this to my upper body. So this was an absolute and complete disaster. And no matter how much I stretched it, I couldn't actually make it fit. So this was a failed attempt right there. And I was a little bit sad because, as you know, double knitting takes a while, and I think I told you in my last video, double knitting in a circle takes way more than double knitting flat, because when you double knit flat, you actually always slip your pearls on both sides, so you never actually have to purl. But when you are double knitting in a round, you actually have to first or I mean, in one round you slip your knit stitches, but in the second round you slip your purl stitches. So in one round you actually have to knit, and then another round you actually have to purl. So I find that actually a lot slower than just, you know, slipping your purl stitches all the time. So this was already very difficult on a small you know, needle size. But I was really hoping it's gonna fit, but no, it wasn't. So I unraveled the yarn, and I reused it right away. I thought that I'm gonna use it again on a small, you know, circumference, and it's not gonna matter because you know, it just doesn't matter. It's gonna stretch out. It doesn't matter that I unravel the yarn. And see, again, I have some unravel yarn left, and I find it's pretty much stretched out really quickly, so it's not like that curly that I feel it would mess up my stitches. Because sometimes when you unravel the yarn and you reuse it right away, then since the yarn is curled up, sometimes you use too much yarn for your stitches, and once you block it and wash it, those stitches gonna be flattened out a little bit bigger than the others. But I kind of knew I'm gonna use this for my double knitting. If anything, then it's not gonna matter too much. And then after that, I had a second version, and I was happier with this. I actually put way more stitches on my knitting needle, and I went through the double knitting part, and I wanted to see how would this look like with almost no positive ease. And you know, that was like yeah, zero positive ease, or actually rather negative ease, was too tight. And I didn't go too far with this, and I realized, yes, it's not what I want. Originally I wanted something with about maybe 5 centimeter or so positive ease, 4 to 5 centimeter. I don't like too much positive ease, at least not in this design. There are certain designs that I like a lot of positive ease when I'm on purpose designing something that is oversized, but I still don't like too much positivities on my oversized things either. So here I was going for about 5 centimeter positivities originally. Then I got so upset that my first version didn't work out that I was like, okay, let me see it with no positivities. Would I like it? But I actually hated it. The double knit was so thick, and then this no positive ease with the design I chose was an absolute disaster. I was able to try it on and see, and I hated it. So I just frogged back until the double knitted part, and decided that yes, this is way too little positive ease, and I definitely want something more. So I found it a little bit difficult to see how much more positive is exactly do I want. So I had a version where I had actually a lot more positivities than I originally wanted, but I knitted this far enough to see that this is too much. So as you can see it here, I went with a couple, you know, inches above my button. I'm sorry, again calling it bottom end. Sorry, above my hem, and I tried it on, and I had way too much positive ease on the side. And the problem I thought is that my design will still stretch a little bit, and I feel with this much positive ease, sort of the pattern that I chose will not show enough. So I realized I need less than what I have, but more than what I had before. So sort of in the middle, and that's exactly actually what I did, literally in the middle. I actually measured how much would my fabric stretch out and how much would the positive ease. I mean, how far should I go to have as much positive ease as I want? And you know, I deducted from that how many stitches should I have. But even when you know that, seeing it makes it a little bit different. So when I saw this much positive ease and the design knots, even if I stretched it, then I would have way more positive ease, but then the whole thing wouldn't show. So I didn't like it. And then I went with this version. Let me just lift it again. So I went with this version. It looks teeny tiny, but my double knit actually stretches out exactly to my waist perfectly fine. And this part stretch out and will block out a lot more. So it will have, although it's hard to believe, but it will have about 4 to 5 centimeter of positive ease on my body, which is very difficult to see right now because it's sort of cinched in. First, I didn't block it out. Second, as you can see, the stitch pattern I chose, you can expect something like this at the very end to see after blocking. So after blocking, this will have about 4 or 5 centimeter of positive ease on me, and that's exactly what I want. And I chose a combination design. First, I wanted to go all the way with the design that you see right above the hem. But as I was knitting it, I found it too much. It was, I don't know, it felt too heavy, if that makes sense. So I decided that I need a break from that. So I inserted stockinette parts to give me a break from that design, and I kept the design only at the side, and I'm really, really happy with it. Next week, I'm gonna try to put this on a longer needle or a cable, so, and then pull it so you get to see, but I'm really happy with it. And as you can see, I'm designing this in a round, and I'm designing it from bottom up. I will have a version obviously where you can knit this flat if you want, or you want to knit maybe flat the double knit and you want to just join it around after that. As I said, I find it really laborsome to knit double knit in a round. Until now I only knitted them flat, but I thought I'd try it out how it feels to knit it in a round, and it takes a while. So I settled for a little bit shorter hem that I normally do, but I felt for this design I actually want a shorter hem than for my other designs as well. And I think I mentioned this before, but this will be a summer top obviously, and it will have short sleeves, and I'm still debating about the opening in the front. As I said, I don't know, sometimes I feel that this is a bit too heavy and a little bit too close, so I need sort of something to break the fabric, and I haven't decided where that break or where that skin will show. I mean, obviously you will have a break because it's gonna be a short sleeve, so you can see my arm, but I'm still debating as I go how much I want to open up the front and in which way. I already have a plan, and that's what I will try first, but I'm not so sure. As I said, sometimes it doesn't come out the way I wanted. But next week I will show you the design. I'm really happy with this stockinette break. It makes the design a little bit lighter. And one thing I want to mention, you get to see two bumps. Here's one bump and here's another bump, and I'm really upset about them. I have to fix them. And what happened there was that I actually, when I unraveled my yarn, I tangled it a little bit and I had to rip it and tie it back together. And somehow when I did the double knit, the knot fell in a very strange way in here and in here, and I created this weird look. I already figured out how to fix it, but I haven't put in the time yet, just to make sure that I actually like this version and I'm not going to unravel this again. As soon as I am sure that I want this, I'm going to fix that. But just try to avoid any knots in your double knit because it's actually a bit more difficult to work them out than working any knots or waving your ends in anywhere else in your fabric. But as of now, I am really happy with this. As I said, this is a very soft yarn, and I am really happy with the touch and the feel of this. I'm really happy with the color. I said that before, blue is my favorite color, but I do like green. I like a lot of different colors. I do love somehow this green, so I'm really pleased with it. Although it's not a summer or spring color, I still love this for me for the spring and summer. So I'm really happy how it's turning out, but my past 2 weeks was spent in frustration trying to figure this out. Yeah, so sometimes designing things is not easy. I can't draw anything, so I don't draw my designs. It's just in my head. And when I'm trying to make it into the thing that it's in my head, sometimes it's easy, like with this one, or with my boucle, it's like a piece of cake. And sometimes it's a bit more of a struggle to figure out if your original idea doesn't work. As I said, I originally wanted to have this pattern throughout the entire shirt, but it turned out to be too heavy. So I had to change something up. That's why I came up with the stockinette break. You know, sometimes you visualize it in your head, but it doesn't come out. Or when it comes out, it's just something that you don't like about it. So this goes through more versions that I normally have in my designs by far. So I'm really curious whether or not I'm really gonna love the end result, or I'm only gonna like it, or what the end result is gonna look like. Yeah, I'm curious to see if, as of now, I'm keeping it up, especially until I get to the armhole opening to see how much I like this, and I'm gonna put it on a larger needle so I can actually, maybe I even block it to see how much I like when this design element kind of flattens out and becomes this. But yeah, now I'm in a happy place with this. My second design for the summer uses this very beautiful boucle yarn. This is again from the same company. I'm gonna pop up some of the colors here. This one has a bit less colors. I chose this beautiful off-white color that came to me by chance, basically. If you remember in my summer / spring video, the company that makes BC Garn and Creme Castle wool, two of the yarns that I have in my shop, sent me a couple of sort of spring summer yarns, and they picked this beautiful white color of boucle among those colors. And when I saw this yarn, I immediately had an idea, just like when I immediately had an idea for this when I saw the yarn. I immediately had an idea for this when I saw the yarn. And I guess these two things have common, that I see the yarn and I immediately know. And sometimes I just see the yarn and it just slowly, like, you know, getting ready in my head, like for this one was the case. So I struggled a little bit more to bring it life than I struggle with this. This was like easy breezy to knit this up, and I'm not gonna show you. I'm purpose holding it this way. I'm keeping it secret, the fun part. But I had only a 50 gram skein, and I ordered from the company 100 more grams. So my size, which is going to be a size 2, will use about 2.5 to 3 skeins. And the smaller size, obviously a little bit smaller, so it's not going to use too many balls or skeins of yarn. This comes actually in skeins. And I'm finishing this white one. Since I ordered the yarn around Easter, there was a little bit of delay, and the yarn is still not here. When I looked it up, it's been delayed in Germany for now on, so I'm really hoping it's here in a few days. But I knitted the front. The back is easier because the back is just very simple. And I'm knitting this with the exaggerated sleeve version. I decided to make this more of a fashion moment version, and I ordered this beautiful pinkish purple, I think it's a mauve or something like that. I'm gonna pop this up here, color for my sister. I ordered 3 skeins for that as well. And hers gonna be the regular sleeve version. Mine gonna be the fashion moment sleeve version, and hers gonna be the regular sleeve. As soon as the yarn arrives, I'm guessing I'm gonna finish the back really quickly. This actually flies off of my needle on a 2.75 millimeter knitting needle, but this is really fast. And some people have trouble knitting boucle because, you know, these little bubbles can kind of get stuck in your needle. But I have no trouble with it. This is like a lace boucle, and I'm knitting it on my on my metal knitting needles. I really love my wooden knitting needles, but I actually didn't have a 2.75 millimeter in my knitting needle set, so I used my I'm using my sort of one piece knitting needle, 2.75. And it really flies off of the needle. But if you're not an advanced knitter, or if you're not an advanced knitter, you should use bamboo needles. Those are relatively soft, and these little things won't get stuck in it. So if you use a good quality bamboo needle, you should be fine. Otherwise, you may find that your stitch is kind of slipping off of your needle. So anyways, I don't have that problem, so I'm using that. And as soon as the yarn arrives, I'm really looking forward to finishing this. I'm very excited about it. I'm more excited about this one than about this one, because this is a struggle, so I'm not liking it at the moment. And I really had a clear idea for the front of this, and I got what I wanted on the first try. So I'm really pleased and happy. The same design detail will be on the sleeve as well, so that's why I'm not showing it, and I'm gonna keep it as a complete surprise. Hopefully, if the yarn gets here in 3-4 days, which might, because it's like on a quick shipping, so it usually takes a few days after the delay that it gets here. So if it gets here in 2-3 days, I might be able to finish the whole thing before I record next time, or most part of it. I will see. I'm really looking forward to having the yarn and really just finish this, because I'm very excited about it. But yes, so I love the yarn, and I'm holding it single. It's an alpaca, I think viscose, but I'm gonna pop this up, a blend. So you know, alpaca can be really warm. That's why I knitted it relatively loose on a 2.75, but not loose enough to be, you know, needing to wear a camisole or anything under, because I wanted to avoid that. It's gonna be warm enough, but I didn't want to make it see-through, because that beats the point of being able to wear it in the summer. If it's short sleeve but see-through, you have to wear something under, and then it's too warm. So I am designing this so you don't have to wear too much underneath, and just what you must. And yes, so this is my second summer knit in progress that is flying off my needles on the first try so far. I might run into some issues designing the sleeve, as I run into some issues with this sleeve, as I said before, but since the front is done and I'm loving it, the back is easy, with a little bit different you know, shaping on the neck, so I don't anticipate problems with the back, or putting the back and the front together, but there might be some issues with the sleeve that needs adjusting. So I'm knitting this right now in panels. So I knitted the front first, then comes the back and the 2 sleeves, but I'm adding a version in my pattern where I'm knitting this in a round, but you could knit this in a round. And my sister's version, I'm actually planning myself to knit in a round, just to experience it and to make sure the adjustments I need to make. You know, when you want to adjust a pattern that is knitted flat as opposed to knitting in a round, you just have to consider that you lose a couple of stitches when you seam your garment together on the side. So I normally lose 2 stitches on each side, so 4 total. So then you just have to cast on basically 4 stitches less if you're knitting in a round than if you are knitting flat. Just because you lose about 4 stitches when you seam your garment together, because you seam together the last 2 stitches mostly. So I'm looking forward to this design, and I'm hoping that the yarn gets here, but I'm gonna check where is it as soon as my sort of recording is over. And I have a new cast on and an update on my sister's honey cardigan. So let's do the honey cardigan. I did this honey cardigan for my sister for her birthday. This is the blocked version. This is the Kutawakika design that I took from her book. I popped this up here. I purchased the book in the US with, I think it was free delivery because I liked a couple of designs there for my family. It is actually not necessarily my style, so but my family doesn't actually wear my style. So when I gift knit, I kind of like to have a couple of options, and I think this was a perfect book for me to gift knit from. So I showed the designs for my sister and she immediately picked out this honey cardigan that is knitted in half brioche stitch. And it was designed for Drops Melody, which I had in my stash. My sister picked this purple color. Originally, I had this yarn for a blanket, but since the Kutawakika design used it, I was like, let me try. I'm a little bit disappointed of the sort of texture that I got in the end, and I met gauge. If anything, my row gauge is actually tighter than supposed to be. But I used like 4 balls less yarn that the pattern called for, so that would have been upsetting if I had to buy the yarn and I'm left with 4 extra yarn balls. But I didn't buy it, I bought it for a blanket, so that was fine. But I found it a little bit strange how much extra yarn I have. Technically, for the size that I made for my sister, I was to use about 500 grams. And I used about 200 grams less. Like I used 300 instead of 500, and that's a huge difference, and I still cannot figure out why. So if any of you did made the honey cardigan using the Melody Drops Melody, let me know if you ended up using so much less yarn than it was called for. But you know, other than that, my problem actually was with the neckline. As you can see, it's actually really tight, and I was hoping that it's gonna block out, but it didn't. I still wanted to show it to my sister because I wanted to know how she feels about it. I could block it a little more so it would be a little bit, you know, less pulling, because you can see a lot of pulling here. And when you put this on, you can see a lot of pulling here in the front as well, particularly in this area is a lot of pulling. And here, as you can see at the back, there is like a lot of pulling. And so when my sister tried it on, it did not look good. I mean, other than the neckline, it didn't look good. So I decided to frog back and first try to make my bind up stitches looser, but I think what I really need is to pick up more stitches, which is a little bit strange because I picked up actually already 10 more stitches than it was called for. It called for like 50 something stitches, but I'm gonna pop it up here. And I picked up actually 10 or 12 more. I'm gonna look into my notes already. And it's still not enough. I have to pick up at least 10 more, if not more, to make this look good. As you can see, it looks absolutely terrible with this tiny little neck, the huge body with this tiny cinched in neck. Absolutely horrible when you put it on. You can even see it inside, how the fabric is like wrinkled. So I did hate that part. So did my sister, so I'm redoing this. And for me, at least, for my body type, the sleeve was way too tight here. And although my sister didn't mind when she tried it on, I felt it's too tight. Like if you want to put something under, that would be really difficult if it had sleeves. You can put a camisole under and it's not gonna bother, but I felt it's too tight. And as I said, I met gauged, but I maybe bind off my stitches a little too tight. So I'm gonna undo the sleeve and undo my bind off stitches and bind them off a little more loose, and see how much I can actually stretch this out by doing so. But I think if you can see, you can pull this more. That means if my bind off stitch is a little looser, I may get maybe even an inch more, and that would be enough. And then a neckline, I mean, at least 10 more stitches. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and pick up stitches sort of the way and the speed I want without counting them, the way I would feel. I think with the sort of speed and pace I picked up here. And I think I'm gonna like that. So this is a little bit of adjustment, which often happens when you have gift knits, and that's what I wanted. I wanted her to pick the color, pick the style, finish the sweater, and let's see what adjustments I need to make. The cardigan was knitted flat. I knitted the front, no, actually, sorry, the back, then the two front panels, the sleeves, and you had to seam the garment together. Then you had to pick up for the button band, and then the neckline. And originally the sweater had these crocheted over buttons, which is what my sister preferred. So that's what I did. I just picked some buttons that were sort of a right size for me, and I crocheted over according to her instructions. Actually a little bit different because I needed a few more rounds, because I crochet very tight as well. But yes, so these are the crocheted buttons. And the last thing I wanted to share today is my new cast on, which is my cousin's birthday cast on knit. And last week I had 3 options. I'm gonna pop them up here. And when I showed these 3 options to my cousin, I asked which one would she want. It's actually, first of all, I asked if she likes any of them. She said yes. So I said, then pick one because I would like to make it for your birthday. And she picked this one. This design is from the last Pompon edition, and I'm gonna pop up some good pictures because sometimes it's harder to show in here. But this is a design by Olivia Glennon, if I pronounce this correctly, and it's called the Coverlet or Coverlet. Once we settled for the design, I knew I don't have the yarn that it called for. It called for Jamison's of Shetland, which is a fingering weight yarn, and it has about 105 meters for a 25-gram ball. So when I looked up the Jamison's of Shetland yarn, how much is it, or exact specifications, I realized that a 25-gram ball was around $9. So I thought that's actually very expensive, because I just looked into my own shop, and I have the BC Garn Bio Shetland yarn, which is a 100% organic yarn, and it comes in 50-gram hanks, and it costs less than that. So basically the Jamisons of Shetland would be double the price. And my yarn is actually 100% organic, so that was a no-brainer for me to actually use my own yarn. So I decided to show my cousin the yarn. I actually asked her to check out my shop, check out the colors I have, and pick 2 colors for this sweater. And she picked 4 colors. So I went down and picked up a skein for each of those colors, because sometimes those colors look a little bit different live, and you just want to see them next to each other, as opposed to just like separately in the web shop. So I took a few photos pairing them up, and we ended up picking this pink and a gray color. And as you can see, I made them into balls. I don't have the one, those things that you put your hank on and you sort of turn it, and what is it called? Anyhow, I don't have that clearly. So I do this with my hand, as I always did at home. Everyone, yeah, I think at home everyone just makes those hanks into a ball, and you put them on a chair and you just wind them with your hand. So I did that, and I didn't get too far with this, but I am using the recommended needle size, which is 2.25 millimeter for the beginning. This is that is all I got. It's a provisional cast on, and I'm doing the second size, and it will have a folded hem. So I will fold this little piece back, and that's why the provisional cast on. So I literally just started this, but I did meet gauge exactly with my yarn using a 2.25 millimeter knitting needle. So although the pattern calls for you to switch to a 2.75 millimeter knitting needle, I am doubtful that I'm gonna meet gauge. I think my yarn is just the tiniest bit thinner than the Jamisons of Shetland. So I may just stick to 2.225 since I'm at gauge anyways, and do my design that way, which means that I may have to knit a few more rows to reach the desired length, but that's fine. As you can see, we chose the pink color to be the main color. So this will be, this will be instead of the purple, and the gray color gonna be instead of the orange. I would say most people would have picked the other way around, but I don't know, I just somehow loved the idea of having the pink as the main and the gray as the flowers, the secondary color. What you need to think about when you're choosing these colors, which ones would you prefer to have against your skin, because your main color, as you see here on the photo, the main color gonna have, you know, it's gonna come closer to your face. So technically, and you have a little bit more of that color, so you just really have to decide which color would you prefer against your skin tone, because that's kind of will determine which should be the main color for you. If you equally prefer them, then it doesn't matter, but my cousin preferred the pink one as opposed to the gray one, so that's why we have the pink one as the main color. And I already know ahead that I will make two modifications. One, this design, which is hard to see, but I'm gonna pop up some photos, has a split hem, which I didn't really realize until I actually started reading into the instructions really clearly, but here is it, actually without, okay, I can't really pop this up without giving away the design, so anyhow, it has a split hem. I'm gonna take a photo and bring it up. So I don't want the split hem, I really don't like it, the way it flops around, and my cousin wanted it a bit cropped as well. So I asked her to measure her favorite cropped sweater, and tell me the exact length, and actually that's the exact length I'm gonna make it, the sweater, to be, with keeping the design elements intact. So she will let me know the exact length, and I will see how and where can I sort of adjust the design. As you can see, the design is this whole circle, and that's how you finish it, with the whole circle. So I will have to decide how many of these whole blocks of designs I can make, and how much extra material do I have, and that will determine in which row of this design I will start from the bottom, because as I said, it starts from the bottom up. So I just have to decide. As of now, I think you start at row 5, but depending on the exact length she wants, I may have to start in a different point. So it's gonna be cropped, and it will have no split hem for sure. I don't like the split hem. I don't know, I don't like it, and neither does she, so that's good. Neither of us like it. So since I'm knitting this on a 2.25 millimeter knitting needle with the lots of stitches and color work, you may see this, it may stay around with us for a while, but this is all I have done today. I really do love the way it turns out. I think the stitches look really, really great, so I really love the work. I think it looks really, really neat. And I know it looks tight, but you know, you don't want the gray color work to be visible or peeking through as you carry your floats. So it has to be tight enough, but not too tight, because this, I mean, I'm knitting this actually for the fall. Her birthday is in the summer, but this is a fall sweater, so it's fine. But you want to knit this tight, because you don't want the gray color and the floats to be showing behind the pink when it's not supposed to show. So this may take me a while, given that I'm working on my own designs, but I'm not gonna give this to her, I think, until August, so I have plenty of time. I may have other cast-ons obviously in the same time, because color work can be really tiring, but it looks actually fun, so I'm looking forward to knitting it. And as I said, this BC Garn Shetland yarn is available in multiple colors. Really great yarn substitution, I think, for the Jamison if you want something more affordable. And as I said, for me, the stitch is working out just fine so far, substituting, although I think it's a tiny bit, there's a tiny bit of a difference in the thickness. But as I said, I mean, this one that I'm using, it's 50 grams and cost less than half. So yeah, double the yarn and half the price. So I'm really happy with it. So very happy, and I actually had it in my store, so perfect. You will see how it turns out if you ever think about making this. But the yarn is expensive for you as well, then maybe think about substituting it with the same yarn as I did. But just wait a little bit until I confirm that even during the color work, the stitches work just fine, and you don't have to tweak the numbers, because it might be a little bit difficult to tweak the numbers with this kind of color work. So I guess this is it for today. I am really looking forward my new acquisition of yarn arriving hopefully this week. I mean my boucle and my the white color and the other color, and in that package I actually ordered something for a new design as well. So I will share that with you. It's a summer design. I will share that with you when it arrives. And I also ordered 3 skeins for a fall design. I found this color that I saw so inspiring that I decided to order just a sample skein to see, since I'm about to put in a larger order for my shop from this company, and I wanted to make sure that I have everything in stock that I'm designing for, and also some things for the fall, so I have sort of enough design choices and enough yarn choices, so I don't have to order these smaller packages as it comes to my mind. So I made sure that I have everything here now, so when I put in my larger order very soon to update my shop, I should have everything even for some of my early fall designs. I hope this was fun to hear about my design struggles, and I will see you next week. Thank you.